When I was growing up, people called me DBA as my nickname at school. But after 3 decades in California, DBA has a new meaning to me, which is if you can dream it, if you can believe it, then you can achieve it. And this whole story started when I had a very vivid dream one afternoon in June of 1988. And yeah, it's a long time. So I usually to walk in the afternoon at Legon. Those of people who invest in Legon. I got tired that day, very unusually, so I laid down to rest. And in my sleep, I believed that I had this vivid instruction that I would be going to the United States and I would come back and help my people. Now, quite naturally, I was headed to medical school at the time in UK, University of Birmingham. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll go to medical school and all that. Funny enough, 2 weeks later after that dream, I had a letter from my uncle who taught at California State University. Said my father had told him that I finished my A-levels and he wants me to come and visit. Okay, I don't know this uncle, but so I'm like, oh, that's my cousin. You can go and visit. So I went. And for the 3 months that I was there, I began to see bits and pieces of that dream beginning to evolve. I had no intention of staying in California, actually. I had no intention at all of wanting to stay in California. But the occurrence of these small hints that took me to the dream began to tell me that maybe it's okay to come back and continue my education here. So, a lady that I never knew, her name is, well, may she rest in peace, Ida Sidnor. We just happened to meet and she said, I know you somewhere. So, no, you don't. I just came here the last 6 weeks to visit my uncle. And in the course of our talking, she said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I came to visit, but I don't mind if I come to school here. He said, oh, I can sponsor you. I said, oh, just like that? Okay, cool. So she did, right? And so in those days, you have to go back to your home country to get the student visa and come back. So I went back I came back to Ghana prematurely because I was going to stay for about 6 months. But within 3 months, I came back and I got the student visa. And as I was going to pick up my visa, the consular told me, oh, can we talk to you for a minute? And I said, sure. He said, we got this letter from the school that they have to pull back your student's visa. I said, for what? He said, well, we had some information that we have to investigate. I said, okay, fine. So for 8 months, I waited for them to do that investigation. And they called me and apologized that whatever information they got was wrong, so I can go. And so I left. Now, that is my journey. When I got to California, I realized that the MCAT was not cheap. And when we did the calculation for going to medical school, it wasn't something I wanted to do. So I switched to do business. Now, you think at that time that dream has been quenched because I never thought of doctorate in a different form other than a medical doctor. So I thought, okay, fine, that goes the dream. And so I started going to school. Everything was going fine. I finished school. I finished my bachelor's in business administration. And then I went on to do my master's in MIS. And then after that, I said, let me work for a little bit. So about a year or two into that, I decided to go to law school. Not because I wanted to be a lawyer, but because I faced a discriminatory action in my work, right? Which really made me angry. And I said, because of this, I'm going to law school and I'm going to show them, because this is wrong. You can't do that. So my desire to go to law school wasn't natural, right? But it was a course of action that taught me something I didn't know before. I went there, and the manager that I had at that time, his name, Mr. McKinley, and he wanted me to go to law. He said, you'll be a perfect lawyer. You so good, you go. And then he retired just before I got into second year. And the new manager that came won't have anything of it. I mean, he did not care whatsoever. And for about a year or so into that, I decided either I work full-time and stop school, or I go to school full-time and stop work, because I had 2 little ones and a wife to take care of. Of course, the decision wasn't very difficult, was it? I said, so law school, you can sit aside. But just in the course of doing that, I felt, why don't you go and do your doctorate? I mean, it's a natural course for you. I said, fine, I'll do it. So I did. Now, as I walked on that stage that day to go and get, how they put things on you when you get that thing they call doctorate. I don't know what that is, but as I walked up, the voice came into my head, it's time to go back home. Remember the dream? I didn't tell about the dream. I'm going to tell about the dream. And as I walked up the stage, it dawned on me, as I could hear in my ears, it's time to go back home and help your people. Now, that dream that I had in 1988 told me that I would come home and help my people. Now, I wasn't taking that seriously whatsoever, because life in California was really good, and I was enjoying it, until that thing came into my ear when I walked up the stage. And I told my wife, I said, this is weird. It's all in your head. Don't even bother with it. So I didn't. That was towards the end of the 2000, that was 2010. So 2011, I decided to come home and visit. And when I came, I saw a lot of trash around. So I decided to do something called gasification. Gasification is a process of taking trash and turning that into energy. Why energy? Because when I came, I realized there was a lot of trash and something called doomsday, which was new to me. The light is on for 1 minute, it's off for the next, right? So I said, well, maybe that's that dream, maybe that is how I'm supposed to help. So I wrote up a very comprehensive plan, and I brought it to Ghana, and I gave it to the government. And I went back. They were supposed to call me, but I never heard back from them, but that's okay. I hope they used it well. But during that same period, the genocide in Rwanda had reached a point where it needed some intervention. And in California, I had been very involved with the genocide, the anti-genocide course. And now Ambassador to the US, Her Excellency Mathilde Mukantabana, and I are very good friends, were then and has always been like brother and sister. So we talked about it, and we were engaged in how we can help and contribute to bringing peace in Rwanda. So I had a chance to go to Rwanda to be part of a conference, and one of the professors from Burundi came to me and said, I listened to you, and have you thought about solar? And I said, oh, you know what, I never thought about it. He said, so why don't you forget about this trash thing? Solar is free. And I said, so I'll do that. So then from that time, I started, investigating about using solar as a way to help with the doomsday problem. But then another thing I learned in the process was that there were a lot of people in the villages who didn't have light. So when the power goes out, they can't study at night, whilst their counterparts in the cities had lights and studying, and they in the villages had none. And so it wasn't fair to compare them to those in the city when it comes to performance and intelligence. So I decided that I was going to come and bring them solar lights, books, and other supplies so they can do well, and their teachers will be able to, have light to write lessons for them at night. I started, and I'm going to share some pictures with you in a little bit. So I started doing this, And something else happened. Something else happened. In the course of doing this, I realized that my feeling for the continent was getting much stronger. And my eyes were getting more enlightened into the real issue why that dream was given to me. I started to believe. I started to believe that whatever it is that I was told I was going to do, I can do it. Even though one part of me told me I couldn't. But there was always that part that brings me to the things I saw when I came, the people I came into contact with, the suffering that I saw. And that part of me kept telling me that maybe you should go. But guess what? I listened more to the part that said, no, you can't go. Why don't you just send the money? I mean, you can go every year, come back, and you are giving back. So I listened to that part, right? And I did that for a long time. Until 2020. 2020, I came on my usual trips. Every year, I'll come twice a year to do the same, give solar lights and books and school supplies to villages. And I thought that was my way of giving back, and I was doing my part, and that should be fine. But oh no, that voice was not satisfied. In November 2020, I came for a visit, and I have a friend in the Supreme Court that I went to visit. And whilst I was there, I just happened to talk about some of the things I'm doing. And he said, have you thought about coming back to Ghana? I said, oh, no. That's not part of my thinking. He said, but I want you to meet this man. His name is Stephen Ade. Why don't you just talk to him? I said, for what? He said, just talk to him. I said, okay, fine. So we scheduled another time to meet, and Professor Ade came to his office, and I was there, and we started talking. And so after a few minutes, he said, have you thought about teaching? I said, no, I'm fine. He said, no, you should teach in Ashesi. You should teach in Ashesi. This resume, you should go teach in Ashesi. I said, what is Ashesi? Because me, I know Legon, I know KNUST, I know UCC. I mean, I never heard of Ashesi. And he said, wait, you should come. So I said, okay, I think I had about 2 days before leaving for California. He said, no, I'm going to have someone call you before you leave. So the call came the day I was packing to leave. And so we couldn't have the interview that time. He said, we'll call you when you get back to California. We'll do the interview there. So we interviewed, and they said, can you come and teach here? I said, okay, I'll come. So that is how I got affiliated with this university. I didn't know that belief that I had, that I could do it, was playing out in a way that I wasn't even conscious of. I went ahead and I bought land in Swedro, which at the time when I bought it, I wasn't thinking of farming or anything. I just bought it because I thought the price was right. And in 2020, COVID hit. So we started teaching I was teaching from California and have to stay up at night when the students were fresh, and I had to wake up at 1 a.m. and be teaching. I was half asleep. Those of you who took my classes, please, I beg you, forgive me. Right, sometimes I'm like half asleep. But that went on for almost a year and a half. And then 2021, the voice started coming again. It's time to go home to your people. They need you. I said, huh? Is that voice again? Because as for this time, dear Charlie, I'm not doing this. This is too much. But I wouldn't have my peace of mind. Every time I wake up, that voice was in my head. When I'm talking to people, unconsciously, I just tell them I'm going to Ghana. I said, did I just say that? So May of 2021, I said, you know what? I told my wife said, Kwame, I think something is not right because we are fine. You are going home every year. What else? I said, but I can't sleep. I can't have my peace of mind. This thing is really bothering me. It's okay, let's make a deal. I'm going to go to Ghana for about 3 months, and I'm sure it will be very clear to me I'm not supposed to stay there. But let me do 3 months, and I'll come back. So, okay, deal. So June, I came to Ghana, intending to stay for about 3 months and really have a confirmation that I'm not supposed to be here. But during that 3 months, my life changed in a way that has impacted me very tremendously, even more than the first 10 years I've been coming and going. So any young person who wants to get themselves involved in agriculture, participating in things to help with food insecurity, it's only a matter of time, right? You want to do crops, we will do it. You want to do fisheries, we'll do it. You want to do livestock, we'll do it. So this is my coming back to my roots. My name is Kwame Acquaah. Thank you.